Yeah. This is something that we've kind of touched on, but I just feel like in reading these poems, what kept coming to mind is this. It's a kind of a Lutheran doctrine of theology of the cross. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's the idea kind of that God works primarily. We think God works primarily through big uh, acts of good works, or through like building us up in our good works, or sanctifying us in like a progressive way. But the reality is that God works most primarily and then very specifically in suffering, and specifically in the suffering of Jesus on the cross, because that's where he takes on all of our suffering and then frees us from it. And so it's actually more of this tearing down of who we think we are and how we think we are righteous through making us like, it's actually the work of theology of the cross is like done to us. We don't do it. It's stripping us from our reliance on ourself to rely on God. And so many of your poems remind me of that. And I think your poem Communion, the first stanza was so indicative of that. If you want to read it, or I can read it, I just found it so beautiful. I have it right here if you want me to
Sure,
read it. Yeah.
I like to hear how other people read it.
Yeah. Um I'm wondering if I added the punctuation in, so correct me if I'm wrong. It says, "My losses find a companion in the man devastated on the cross, who suffered the loss of all things on a rescue mission for my soul." And I just love that idea that like your losses are subsumed by Christ on the cross, and therefore not only does he know them, but he's taken them from you. I thought that was just so beautiful.
Mm.
You go on to say, "He is not sympathy, he is the man of sorrows. He is not a sermon, he is a body broken." Can you talk a little bit about those lines and what you mean by the difference in those, the contrast in both of those statements? Because I found those really, really interesting.
Oof. It's always hard to explain poetry,
Yeah.
but, um, yeah, theologically. So, okay, you think about when you're suffering, that person who gives you kind of the puppy dog look of pity, and how
Mhm.
it and how it's not healing at all. I mean, maybe it's affirming, okay, this person understands that I'm hurting. But when I think about Jesus, he's not looking down on us with like that puppy dog stare. He's actually in the dust with us.
Yeah.
Hebrews says that he experienced all things yet without sin, and he's our sympathetic high priest. And so there's something so incredible about the fact that Jesus knows exactly what it's like to feel a headache. He knows exactly what it's like to feel the ultimate rejection. He knows
Yeah.
exactly what it's like to feel pain and loss. And so he's not this hypothetical um, sympathy floating around. And he's not even what people show us, even if they're very good at being empathetic. He is actually the man of sorrows. And so,
Mm.
well acquainted, I think that term from Hebrews, well acquainted with grief, we've got to hold on to that.